Have you ever wondered how often older adults should really be having sex? Is there some hidden truth, some magic number, that unlocks better health, more happiness, and a deeper emotional bond with your partner? Most people think the answer is obvious, or that it doesn't matter anymore. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What science actually shows might surprise you. And by the end of this video, I'm going to share a powerful insight that could completely shift how you view intimacy in this season of life. So let's talk about something most folks are afraid to bring up. Intimacy doesn't just stop after 60. It doesn't vanish with the candles on your retirement cake. And it sure doesn't become any less meaningful. In fact, it often becomes more sacred, more rooted in love, trust, and emotional depth than ever before. You see, we live in a culture that tends to treat older adults like they should pack away their desire along with their work shoes. Sex after 60 becomes the punchline of jokes or something to shy away from in polite conversation. But here's what we often forget. Our need to feel close, to feel seen, to feel desired, doesn't retire. It evolves. In recent years, studies have come forward showing that people who remain sexually active into their 60s, 70s, and beyond report a better quality of life across the board. We're talking improved heart health, better sleep, sharper minds, and stronger emotional bonds with their partners. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving connection. But despite all this, one question still hangs in the air. How often should intimacy happen? Are you supposed to aim for once a week, once a month, or just whenever the mood happens to strike? The truth? It's not about hitting a number. It's about understanding your connection, your rhythm, your needs. And that's what we're going to uncover together. Because the numbers, they're just part of the story. The real answers are in how intimacy makes you feel and how it keeps your relationship alive. First, why does intimacy matter as we age? Because the benefits don't fade, they evolve. Regular sexual activity can reduce the risk of heart disease, boost immune function, and help regulate sleep. And yes, it also improves mood by releasing feel-good chemicals like endorphins and oxytocin. You might not realize this, but intimacy, even cuddling or affectionate touch, can reduce anxiety, ease pain, and help your muscles relax, making it easier to sleep deeply. That's powerful. Mentally, sex helps keep the brain sharp. Studies show that older adults who stay intimate often report improved memory and cognitive clarity. It's not magic, it's chemistry, the kind that keeps you connected, alert, and engaged with life. But perhaps the most profound benefit: emotional fulfillment. Sex after 60 becomes less about performance and more about connection. It's not about trying to impress or keep up with some imaginary standard. It's about something deeper. It's about the quiet power of presence, of being there for each other in a way that speaks louder than words. When someone looks at you not with judgment but with love, not with expectation but with warmth, it changes how you show up in that moment. And that emotional intimacy, knowing you're wanted, seen, valued, that's where the magic really lives. For many people, it's the first time in their life where intimacy isn't rushed, isn't pressured, but simply enjoyed for what it is: closeness, comfort, and connection. Now, about that big question so many people ask: how often? We all wonder, is there a right number? Are we doing too much or not enough? Well, a study from the National Library of Medicine found that older adults who were intimate about once a week felt significantly happier and more satisfied in their relationships. But here's the part people don't always hear. That doesn't mean once a week is some golden rule. It just means that for some, that rhythm worked. For others, what matters isn't quantity, it's quality. It's whether you feel close to your partner in the ways that matter most. Some couples find joy in weekly intimacy. Others feel just as fulfilled with occasional moments: a long cuddle, a warm embrace, a meaningful conversation where their partner really listens. Physical touch is powerful, yes, but emotional connection, that's the glue that holds it all together. The truth is, you don't need fireworks every time, you just need to feel like you matter to each other. As we age, intimacy takes on a new shape. It becomes slower, softer, and in many ways more meaningful. There's less pressure to perform and more freedom to explore what actually feels good. Not just physically, but emotionally. There's a kind of wisdom that comes with time, a deeper understanding of what it means to truly love someone, to be loved without having to prove anything. Many older adults say that intimacy in their later years is the most fulfilling they've ever experienced, not because of frequency, but because of freedom. They're no longer chasing an image or comparing themselves to anyone else. They're simply present, living in the moment, appreciating the simple act of closeness without the need for perfection. And for many, that shift makes all the difference. So if you've ever felt unsure about whether you're doing it enough, remember this. It's not about how often. It's about how connected you feel when you do. That connection, that emotional safety and closeness, is what truly fuels long-term happiness in any relationship. But what about the challenges? Yes, health changes. There may be joint pain, fatigue, or medical concerns. But these aren't reasons to stop. They're reasons to adapt. Positions, pace, communication, all of these can be adjusted to fit what works best for you. Supportive. Pillows, gentle touch, and slowing things down can make a world of difference. And here's an important note, especially for women. Hormonal changes after menopause can affect comfort and desire. But solutions exist, from moisturizers to medical treatments. The key is not to suffer in silence. Talk to your doctor. There's more help available than most people realize. Let's also talk loneliness, because it plays a more powerful role than most people realize. In fact, research from the University of Chicago found that chronic loneliness can be just as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not just about mood, that's about your lifespan. One long-term study published in the journal Perspectives on Psychological Science found that people with strong social bonds, especially romantic partnerships, had significantly lower risks of early death. They weren't just living longer, they were living better. Think about it. When you feel emotionally connected, you're more likely to care for yourself, to be motivated, and to feel safe sharing love. And when you're seen and heard, even in the small, quiet ways, it gives life richness and purpose. That plays a hidden role. Studies show that people who maintain close relationships, especially romantic ones, have higher satisfaction with their sex lives and age more successfully overall. Connection matters, and staying emotionally close to someone, whether through touch, shared experiences, or deep conversation, creates a kind of intimacy that keeps both body and mind alive. Here's the bottom line. There is no perfect number. The real question isn't how often should you have sex, it's how do you feel in your relationship? Do you feel connected, desired, fulfilled? That's what truly counts. So whether intimacy happens once a week, once a month, or just through affectionate gestures, know this. You are not past your prime, you're in a new phase. One where intimacy can become deeper, more meaningful, and even more satisfying than before. And if you've ever felt unsure or self-conscious, remember, desire doesn't disappear with age. It changes. And that change can be beautiful. Let this be your reminder to reconnect, not just physically, but emotionally. Because when you nurture intimacy in this season of life, you're not just keeping the spark alive. You're honoring your vitality, your joy, and your connection to someone who matters. If this video resonates with you, give it a like, and if you're still watching, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What stood out to you the most? What does intimacy mean to you today? Because intimacy isn't about age, it's about connection. And that's something we all deserve at every stage of life. But what about the challenges? Let's be honest. They're real. No one's pretending that getting older doesn't bring some changes. Maybe your back aches a little more than it used to. Maybe energy comes and goes, or medical issues make certain things feel less natural than before. But here's the thing. These challenges aren't roadblocks, they're simply detours. You don't stop driving because there's a bump in the road. You slow down, take a different route, and keep moving forward. The same applies to intimacy. If something feels uncomfortable or difficult, it's not a sign to give up, it's a sign to get creative. That might mean changing positions, using supportive pillows, taking your time, or having an honest conversation about what feels good now versus what worked 10 years ago. Slowing down isn't a loss, It's a way to be more present, to listen to your body and your partner, and to connect more deeply. And for women especially, there's a silent battle that doesn't get talked about enough. After menopause, hormonal changes can affect everything from moisture to desire. That's not weakness, it's biology. But thankfully, we're living in a time where help exists. From natural moisturizers to personalized medical treatments, the options are there. You just have to ask. The key is not suffering in silence. The more open the conversation, the more likely both partners feel supported and empowered. Then there's loneliness, a quiet challenge that can have a louder impact than most people realize. In fact, loneliness can be just as dangerous as some chronic health conditions. That's not just about feeling sad, it's about feeling invisible. But emotional closeness, especially in a romantic relationship, has the power to cut through that isolation. People in deeply connected relationships don't just live longer, they live brighter. Because when someone truly sees you, it changes how you carry yourself. You take care of yourself differently. You feel worth showing up for. And in that shared space, intimacy becomes more than just physical. It becomes essential. So no, it's not about how often. There is no scoreboard. There is no normal. What matters most is whether you feel seen, whether you feel valued, whether the closeness you share fills you up rather than leaves you feeling empty. That's the question worth asking. Because the real measure of intimacy isn't in numbers, it's in how deeply you feel connected when you're with the person you love. So whether intimacy happens once a week, once a month, or just through affectionate gestures, know this: you haven't missed your moment. You haven't aged out of love or passion. You're stepping into a season where connection can be richer than ever before. When the rush fades and the pressure lifts, what's left is something far more powerful, a relationship built on trust, comfort, laughter, and quiet understanding. That kind of intimacy doesn't burn out. It glows. If you've ever found yourself wondering, am I still desirable? Or does any of this still matter? Let me assure you, it does. Desire doesn't disappear with age. It shifts, it softens in some ways, deepens in others. And that shift can be one of the most beautiful parts of growing older. You begin to realize that intimacy isn't just a moment. It's a mood. It's the way someone reaches for your hand during a quiet walk. It's the knowing smile over coffee. It's the comfort of someone who already knows your story and still leans in closer. So if it's been a while or if you've been feeling distant, take this as a sign. A sign to lean in, to say the thing you've been holding in your chest, to ask how your partner is really feeling, not just physically but emotionally. Often, reigniting closeness starts with something as simple as a shared memory, a laugh, a gentle touch. Those tiny gestures are like sparks. They don't need to be loud to start a fire. And let's be honest, real connection takes courage. It takes the bravery to be seen just as you are, and the tenderness to truly see someone else. But when you do, when both people show up with openness, something beautiful unfolds. Love matures, intimacy deepens, and you realize, maybe for the first time, that growing older doesn't mean fading away. It means leaning further into what matters most. So if this message speaks to you, give this video a like and share it with someone you care about. Drop a comment below. What part of this conversation hit home for you? What does intimacy look like in your life today? Because at the end of the day, intimacy isn't about age. It's about presence. It's about choosing each other over and over again. And that kind of love, it never goes out of style, goes out of